Welcome back to the Padilla family homestead. We are back out in the garden. It's been a while since we've really been working in the garden. We have had some beautiful weather and it's about to shift back to being warm, but then come back to being cold. We're in that tug of war of summer versus fall. So I have most of my seedlings, actually all of my seeds I started died. When I got sick, I didn't water them and they all shriveled up and died. So I need to get some stuff direct sown or I'm going to be out of time. And so I'm going to go ahead and get this started. I have a new idea that I want to try here because my biggest issue is caterpillars. Every time I plant something like peas or anything like that, they immediately get decimated. One caterpillar will come through and eat the tops off of all of them. So I need to get bug netting up. And so I bought something that I'm going to try. I'm going to take you with me in putting that up. I'm also, just a reminder, in a shared backyard. So if the neighbor's dogs come out or anything like that, this may end up switching to a voiceover, or I may just share a voiceover anyway. It's garbage trucks and we live in the city, but we're doing what we can, and I want to show you this cool stuff that we're doing. First, I need to come through and harvest and take out everything that I can take out in here. I'm leaving the peppers on this side, and that's about it. Everything else is coming out. So let's get started. The first thing I needed to do was to harvest all of the green cherry tomatoes. I have a few yellow ones on here, but this plant is on Struggle Bus. This is the Berries Crazy Cherry. All of my other tomatoes I've already pulled out with disease, and this one was the last one that hadn't had disease, but it's had it for a little while now. So I just want to harvest all the tomatoes that I can, and then I'll let those ripen up inside on the island until once they're ripe, then we can eat them and enjoy them. If you were here when I started this garden, I talked about these poles. Now I use these huge poles in California, but last year when I used them at my friend's house, they got so much weight on them, and I don't know, with the moisture or something, the tomatoes were literally sliding down them and buckling. And it actually broke the tomato plant at the base. So this time I only used the extra berries crazy on it and another tomato, and this one you can see where I'm cutting, that's all that's tied up. The rest of this, the last like 4 feet of it, were not even tied up at all. I just twisted it around the pole and it worked great. Granted, I had it heavily pruned and so forth. So that may be why. I don't know the difference, but it did work this year, so I'll probably use them again next year, along with the other trellises that I bought. I will say though that the root system on a tomato plant, the main root isn't that big, which is kind of crazy to me. There are roots down below underneath the surface that tore off very easily, but it's nothing compared to this marigold. Now these marigolds are huge, but the root system is rather impressive, and I really wanted to save a lot of the dirt. That way I didn't have to replace them in the container right now, and as much roots as I could leave I left to break down, but I needed loose soil for my root veggies to grow in. These marigolds are crazy. They're almost as tall as me. The next thing I did was I just kept ripping out marigold and the spent basil, my trellis systems, a tomato that had started to grow back from the stalk. It's not going to have time to do its thing, and I need this space now. And so I needed to make sure I cleared it out. The unfortunate thing is, because I am trying to cover this container, I can't have any plant product still growing underneath it, because it may have caterpillar eggs or other insect eggs, which is unfortunate because there were still plants perfectly fine in this, like this basil. Now the bottom of the basil was starting to get diseased, but I went ahead and I just pulled this all, because if I have access inside to these plants, they're going to get eaten. That's what's been happening. My biggest nemesis right now is butterflies laying their eggs and caterpillars hatching and decimating the entire garden. And so I'm just really trying to get these ready to get covered, and that's what I've been waiting for to plant seeds. Now that I have these cleared, I get to show you what my idea is. I'm going to use some of this Biotone. I used this when I started my seeds in the spring, and I feel like it did pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in it. It's a 433 for your NPK, and it has what's it called? Mycorrhizae or whatever it is. This stuff stinks too, but it works. So I'm just going to sprinkle this over the top, and then I'll be doing fish fertilizer soon, but for now this is going to get us started. Okay, I'm going to mix it in a little bit, break up this dirt. Roots at the top of this. Guess I should probably take some of these loose ones. These roots will break down eventually, so that's kind of what I'm hoping, is that they'll break down and put nutrients back in the soil. They're just not super pretty. The top of this one is super dry, and it's the difference in the soil I used. So I do know what I'm going to do differently in the future. I had sprinkled the top of this with the potting soil that I use for starting seeds, but it gets hydrophobic much faster. And it dries out and becomes a hard clump. Man, there's a lot of roots in this. I don't know if I'm going to keep all these roots on top. I'm going to try my plan here. How far apart is this? Oh, that might work. Actually gonna turn this. All right. Ooh, I think I'm gonna like this. All right. So I really need a cross. That's what I really need. So I'm gonna set this up the way it is right now, and then I'm gonna have my husband help me create an X here, or come up with some plan to have this wider at the top so everything doesn't sit on, because if your netting sits on your plants, it doesn't do much good for you. But these have a drawstring at the bottom, and so you could pull this tight so things don't get in, and it has a zipper to allow you to harvest, which is awesome. I can almost go taller on these too, which is nice. I'm gonna like this. All right, so let me show you those things. I realized you couldn't see it. So we have a drawstring at the bottom and a zipper up the side to allow access. This one, I need to put an X. I need to put 4 in, because you don't want the plants to touch this netting, otherwise the bugs will eat it. But I think this is gonna work. I really like that it's pretty tight down here. I could probably make it a little tighter. I think it's stuck on, yes, I want to make sure it's not stuck on that. That is so awesome. That's going to be good. All right, so I could probably make these a little taller too. For today, for the sake of getting seeds out, I'm just doing this, unless I have a few that are cut correctly for those. These are from the garden bed last year at my friend's house. So, man, am I stoked. That'll look cool. More than looking, it's gonna work. So let's go ahead. I'm gonna get some seeds in this one. I'm gonna water it and get some seeds in it, and then retighten that up and go from there. I cannot convey how excited I am about this. I have been racking my brain on how I was going to deal with these planters and caterpillars. Their favorite thing ever is the fall crop, basically fall and spring crops, all the brassicas and all the things. So this is great to be able to have this covered. We're going to plant some radishes now. I'm going to grow a variety of these radishes: Pusa Jumani, Blue Autumn, Chinese Shawo fruit, and Pusa Gulabi. And all of these are supposed to be for fall. Yeah, all of these are fall radishes, so they're best planted in fall. So this is my color variety that I will be doing. This one's that new one I got. I haven't tried this before, and it's supposed to taste, I think this is the one that's supposed to taste like pear or something like that. It's super sweet. So before I plant my seeds, I'm making sure I water the dirt really well and then smooth it back out. That way the soil is already holding moisture. Then I am putting the holes in where I'm going to plant at the correct depth. Plants or seeds need to go in twice as deep as they are wide. Most of the packages are going to say if it's 1/8 of an inch, 1/4 of an inch, 1/2 inch, 1 inch, or even just surface sow. And so that's something that you want to really keep an eye on when it comes to planting. What I'm choosing to grow are things that we buy at the store and things that we eat on a regular basis. We add radishes and carrots and beets and turnips to just about everything, whether we roast them or we are sauteing them and putting them in with our eggs or with some sausage, or we are making soups and so forth. So once I get all the seeds planted, I'm just re-watering in, and I decide to try something different this time. Before I pop that netting back on, I decide to try to put in 2 more sticks basically. So I'm using rebar, short rebar poles with these PVC over the top, and then I'm putting the netting over that. This is just to hold it open right now. I'm going to explain more at the end too, but I need to keep the netting off of the plants. Plus I have a feeling I'm going to need this rebar and this PVC to add my cross section in. I'm waiting for my husband because he needs to help me cut the PVC, make sure we have all the right pieces from the last location, and figure out what the best course of action is. And now I'm just going to rinse and repeat and just keep setting these up. Now some of these radishes and carrots and things like that should have been planted a little while ago. The carrots should have been planted probably a month ago. But 1, we were having a heat wave. 2, I got sick twice in that last month. And it is what it is. Sometimes we just do the best that we can. And I'm not going to get anything if I don't plant it all. And hopefully having the bug netting, it's not going to struggle as much. Fertilizing is going to help. And this cool weather we're having right now hopefully is going to help germinate. So that is kind of my goal. This weekend, I will be working on my GreenStalk tower. I have a plan for that. And that's going to have all of my kale and greens and all that kind of stuff started in there. But again, I need to get it cleaned out, and I need to have a way to cover it effectively and still be able to water it. So these are all things that I'm looking at right now, and I'm trying to do it cost effectively. So I'm doing some trial and error with you guys, and hopefully if you're following along, make sure you subscribe. You'll see how this turns out and how this works, and you can decide if this is something that will work for you. My goal is also to continue to keep growing over the winter. So some of these things I'll pull because they'll be ready to go. Other things, if I have a light frost, our first estimated frost is supposed to be like towards the end of October. It's like the 20th or 25th or something like that. So hopefully we have a late frost, and hopefully I have a little extra time. Now I'm planting my carrot seeds right here, and I want you to see I sprinkled them across the top. I did not press them in, and I watered again, and then I'm putting this cardboard down and I'm wetting that. I'm going to keep this cardboard on it until the majority of them start to germinate. Then I'm going to pull this cardboard off. There will be white little stringy carrots starting to grow. And what this does is it stops it from drying out. Carrots have to stay moist, and so this cardboard helps with that. They will green up. The white little carrot pieces will green up once they hit sunlight, because plants get green because of sun. And so that's something that I'm going to try out in this container. I've done cardboard and wood before, and it works. I just haven't done them in a container with a net over it. So it's all things that we're working towards, trying to get the biggest bang for our buck. Now, we talked about a few different ways to deal with this. We thought about getting a big net and kind of creating a greenhouse effect with the netting off of the house, the little shed right here, but we decided not to do that. Another idea we thought about was creating a frame around all of these buckets, and just a wooden frame that we can pick up and move if need be, and that had netting and so forth, so I could just walk into this entire area, and then we could net and then frost cover that. That was going to cost a lot more because we'd have to buy wood, build this frame situation, and so forth. And I need to be able to cover individual pots, since like my peppers are still growing right now. They aren't going to get pulled till way closer to frost. So this is something that instead of moving all the buckets around and so forth, I like the idea of being able to cover individual buckets. But if this isn't your thing and you're still trying to find a way to cover, there are other options out there for you. I also needed something that was going to look clean and organized because this is a shared property. And so this backyard, 4 duplexes share this. And so we need to make sure that it still looks good, but also that the landscapers aren't going to hit. That's why I was tucking the little strings up underneath, that dogs aren't going to get into and so forth. So we're figuring all of that out, and but I think that this looks very nice, very clean, and very organized. And that's it for today. We have got radishes, beets, carrots, turnips, and Swiss chard planted in these tubs. And then I still have to plant out in those 3 tubs. I need to change over at least one of the GreenStalks. And then I have 2 more tubs behind you that also need to be switched out. But that's all the energy I have for today. It's starting to warm up a little bit, not too bad. But it's like 11 o'clock and I haven't eaten yet. So it's time to get in, time to have breakfast, clean up, and then rest a little bit before I go into work. So I hope you enjoyed. I'm going to link the Amazon link to these. It's an affiliate link. It doesn't cost you any extra, but it does help our family out for referring it. So I will put those in the description. There's multiple different sizes. You can use these to cover trees to stop pests from getting into the trees and so forth. And so I really wasn't sure about the quality of the mesh and so forth, but it looks really good. It feels better than the stuff that I got last year, which is great. I will say that even though the water goes through it, it doesn't, even though the water goes through it, it doesn't come through it evenly and nicely. It comes through in clumps. So I'm going to have to watch for that. And then I'm going to talk to my husband about, how I have these in here. This isn't going to work in the snow. And so I do want to get frost covers like this. I have some in my cart ready to order. So I'm going to try those out here pretty soon. But if snow falls on this, it's just going to pull down and it's going to tear. So I know I need to at least cap the tops of these that are open, but I would like to find a way to cross them or something. I just want to come up with another solution to finalize these. These will work while it's just the netting, but if we get any crazy storms with hail or snow, it's just going to push down and it's not going to stop this from collapsing on the plants. So that's something I'm trying to keep in mind. So keep that in mind if you're copying this. This is still a work in progress. The biggest thing is I needed to have netting on these plants when I planted them. That way nothing laid eggs while they were little baby seedlings. So yeah, so that's what I got. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm gonna go in and drink some water, get cleaned up and rest a little bit, and we'll see you back on the next one.